And we are here. Welcome. Happy Tuesday, October 28th for a very special edition of the Tech Commute. I'm here with the homie who I got to meet IRL. Oh, what's up, Jeff Jesse? I see you in the chat. At Commit Your Code this year. Everybody say hi to Jeremy. Jeremy, how do you say your last name? Barger? Barger.
No, Barger with the hard G. Although I've had people correct me when I tell them. They're like, "Oh, you mean Barger?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah."
Well, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Uh, obviously, my name is Jeremy. I've been involved in software development since 2005. Uh, Worked my way up through full stack development, then switched over to native mobile. So my path truly began as a project manager, and then I got into the tech side of things, which was fun. So currently, I'm working as a lead for native mobile development that has a backend component. So still getting my hands in all the different pieces.
Do you enjoy having your hands in all the different pieces? How's that working?
Oh, so I do. It keeps you from becoming a master of anything, especially once you
Hmm.
flip to the leadership side. You find out that what used to be just a lot of coding and research turns into a lot of meetings and analytics. Uh,
Oh,
so I still like it, but it helps me keep a very broad base. I will say I'm still a specialist in iOS because that's where I started in native mobile.
so you just brought something up there that's kind of interesting, and I want to hear your take on it. Um, it keeps you from being a master at something. Isn't that what you want to do? Do you want people, or do you think people should be maybe focusing on specific things? Let's expand on that a little bit.
So it depends on what you want to do, right? It depends on
Hmm.
what your career goals and aspirations are. Once you get to like the senior developer level, you come to a fork in the road, and
Okay.
you can go to like a tech lead or an architect venue, which is more specialized. That's where you would want to become a master of one specific
Hmm.
technical aspect. Or you can go the actual leadership management route, which will pull you out of day-to-day development and hands-on coding. You'll still have like PRs that
Hmm.
you have to do. You still need to stay fresh with your technical abilities, but once you get into management, your focus becomes people and not the tech.
Interesting. So I think that that's something that a lot of people maybe don't understand on their trajectory in their career is there sometimes, as you said, will be that fork in the road, and I think you kind of have to decide what you want to do. So being hands on for you, is that something that's always sort of been important as far as your interest in your career?
Uh, yes, I never want to lose it completely because I enjoy
Okay.
doing it, right? It's fun for me. So I do always want to maintain some level of hands-on. But in this, so I had this discussion earlier this week with someone. The tech, the standard hard and soft skills are
Hmm.
completely backwards, in my
Okay.
opinion, and companies are hiring for the wrong things. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I know I'm going to make a lot of people angry, but here we go. So, hard skills have typically been defined as the technical side,
Yeah.
right? Syntax, languages, architecture. None of that is truly hard. It's easy because you've got the
Hmm.
documentation. It's set in stone, right? You like an integer is an integer and a string is a string, and those things cannot change. And if you try to change them or interlope them, you get very clear errors. When it comes to soft skills, communication, right? Conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, all of those things are dependent upon the individual. So there
Hmm.
are no hard and fast rules to govern those. So
Hmm.
in my view, the soft skills are truly hard, and the hard skills are kind of soft. You got the tutorials and the documentation and the how-tos. But you don't get that with people because you can't.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That was not the take I was expecting. I love that. I'm curious though. So as far as soft skills, and this is something that's pretty polarizing because I think that someone categorizing or ranking their skill in something that is considered that soft skill like communication is very subjective. How does one grow that skill? How do you train yourself in some of these like intangibles?
Right. So, great question with a very vague, unspecific answer. It just takes a lot of practice, right? So,
Well, how do you practice? Like, what would be something people could be doing for practice? Because
all right.
obviously, again, like going into an org, being a terrible fucking communicator, pardon my language, is very detrimental. So, how does somebody practice that?
Dude, so you have to communicate, right? And you have to find a way. So I got into a huge debate one time, just a rocking argument online where I got dragged because I am
Mm,
someone, especially as a manager, who believes that feedback has got to be tailored to the individual.
mm,
There are a lot of people who think that you should just be able to give feedback and it falls on the person receiving that feedback to receive it well. But I don't agree
mm,
with that. You can't just say whatever you want and
yeah,
expect the other person to have the maturity, right, or the emotional intelligence
yeah,
to take it the way that you intended it. So you have to communicate, and in my view, you do it with people who are much different than you.
right.
So some of these skills, right? So you have every person is composed of three basic sections. You have your IQ, right, which is your intelligence. That is
Okay.
what it is. You can't change it. You have your personality, which again, it is what it is. You can't change it either, right? And then you have your emotional intelligence, which will fluctuate throughout time. Sometimes it will grow, sometimes it will shrink. That is the only one that you can control. So that is the one that you have to work on, right? You are who you are. Learn to embrace that. Once you figure out who you are and you know how you work, then you
Mhm.
can figure out with emotional intelligence how other people work. And that's when you can get into collaboration with them. A little give and take. So for
Interesting.
communication, get
Yeah.
out there and communicate. For emotional intelligence, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? Force yourself to deal with things that you do not like. And that way you'll learn how to balance that. When it comes to conflict resolution, figure out how not to get in conflict. And all of those things are tied to emotional intelligence. Like it is the foundation of every other soft skill that you will encounter.
Emotional intelligence. That's definitely an important one. Where all right, let's rewind a little bit because I feel like we dove into a lot of stuff here, and I love every minute of it. But
Deep end.
let's talk a little bit about your journey from the beginning to where you are now, and maybe where you experienced some of these lessons and learnings and figured this stuff out along the way. So where like talk to us about where you even started getting into tech. Were you always into tech? You got a computer science degree? Like what's tell us your journey a little bit.
No. So no computer science degree.
Okay.
No official computer science education. Back when I was at uni, like computer science was not really a thing yet, right? It was still
Hmm.
in its developmental phases. I had received some training and experience with psychology in the military. Before that, I dealt with a family that was unstable, right? Much
Hmm.
more like the Manson family than the Cosbys. So
Wow.
so I had that experience early on, and
Yeah.
that's where my interest lied. So I studied philosophy and psychology. I found that those two things overlapped very well.
Hmm.
I was very organized, a good communicator, right? Great at conflict resolution. So I got a job that was doing technical project management starting off. And that is
Okay.
where I would lead a small team that was installing equipment at various places. So always new people, right? Always new personalities, always new conflicts, always new challenges. That's where I started. When we were installing that equipment, we had to do some QA on it. And if we ran into trouble, we had to figure out how to resolve it. That's what got me interested in like the software side of things. And then from there, I was actually recruited into a software engineering management position with
Wow.
no software development or engineering experience at all. So I will say this, nothing about the professional world is something that I find stressful, right? I'm very
Okay.
different in that timelines, deadlines, conflict, different personality, that stuff has never bothered me, right? So for me, getting into tech was easy. I enjoyed the learning process, right? It was
Hmm.
all just a discovery. So for me, since I started off in software engineering management, it was much more appealing to me because I still had the human element, but I was also learning the technical element now.
Hmm.
And at some point, I would say around like 2012, I feel like that I had gained enough experience in both to truly be effective.
Okay. All
Some of
right.
the areas where I've experienced struggle has been in poor leadership. And I will tell you that every issue with any team that you ever encounter is going to be from management. Always,
Interesting.
always.
Interesting. Hot take.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? Elaborate on that.
So I had a great conversation. It was short with Danny Thompson of CYC fame. Um,
Never heard of him. Go on.
right. I'll drop his name. We'll make him big. Um, he asked me what my opinion, what my philosophy behind leadership was. And I told him that the best leaders are shadow warriors, which is something that he had never heard of before. But the best leaders are always the ones that you never see, right? They don't stick their nose in, they operate in the background so that teams can actually do their job.
Hmm.
So anytime you have a team that is malfunctioning, right, for whatever reason, whether it's internal conflict or they're running into technical challenges, that is going to be the direct result of a leader failing in their job.
Hmm. Okay. So, as far as that goes, as an employee, how do we mitigate that or how do we address that situation?
Oh, okay. So this is where the training comes in because most people are promoted to leadership positions based on their technical acumen, right? You have a
Hmm.
standout developer and you go, oh, that person would make a great leader, right? Because they know the tech. That is absolutely wrong.
Hmm.
The best leaders are people who have a strong human component, right? A strong human acumen with the way that people interact and teams function. So when people are promoted on their technical prowess, that does not mean that they will be a good leader. It doesn't mean that they will be a bad one. I need to be very clear.
Sure,
It does
sure.
not mean they will be bad, but it also is not a guaranteed sign of success. So when you take someone who's strong technically and you put them in a leadership position where now they're overseeing and leading a team, if they don't communicate well, if they don't have the interpersonal communication, if they can't read people and read their needs, or have even just a big picture view, right? So a developer, they've kind of got like a 5 foot worldview. They know the functionality that they need to create, and they know how it plays into an overall like feature. With leaders, you have to have that 10,000 foot view, right? You've got to know, okay, well, the team is currently working on this, and that's because we have like a 12-month long roadmap, and it's not
Hmm.
going to impact our users for another year. However, it will impact these internal teams. So there are a lot of things that go into good leadership. The pride, that is a big one for bad leaders.
Hmm.
People just they have to have their way. I've had several people that have joined a team that come in way hot, way fast, because their way is best. They don't. That's just wrong, right? When you join a team, you need to take a step back, take a breath, see how the team interacts, see how they function, see how they work. Pride is a big one. Immaturity is a huge one. Like if you're not mature, like you're not going to make it as a leader. Short-sightedness. So it's just I don't know. There's a lot of politics that go on internally with a lot of companies where people are promoted.
Yeah.
Um, I had a company that I worked for where I left because I was asked to lie to clients. I said no, thank you. I will not do that. After that, the CEO started pretty much an inquisition with the people that were on my team to try to figure out, oh, what did he do wrong? He was
Hmm.
dropping all kinds of insults, telling them that I wasn't man enough to confront him, hoping that it would
Jeez.
get back to me so that he could pull me into a fight. And that's what I'm talking about, right? They say that you've dropped some profanity, so let me just say the famous saying "shit rolls downhill" is only true
Hmm.
when you have an asshole at the top.
I like that. I like that saying a lot. I've never heard the full statement there. I do like that. Wow. Yeah, you are wow, you came in hot today, buddy. You
You
came in
know,
hot today. I love it.
I've been criticized for having strong opinions, but why have an opinion if it's not strong? Then it's
Oh
just a
man.
thought, right?
Dang. the sound bites are just we got all of them. This is a highlight reel episode, guys. So based on what you said, bad leaders are lacking those like core like human skills, but a lot of people in orgs get promoted based on their technical skills. So if a developer is focusing on technical skills to get a job, where should they be trying to do that other stuff so that they're well rounded? I feel like based on how you said, it's like you only have one side of the coin. How do you get
You
both?
do. A lot of companies are horrible at training on the softer skills, right? So
Mm,
once you're hired, they don't care if you can communicate until it becomes a problem. They don't
mm,
care if you suck at conflict resolution until it becomes a problem. So they don't offer inner training. So my advice to anyone that would be interested in taking the management or leadership route, right? And not everybody is interested in that. And if you're not, you
yeah.
shouldn't be forced into it. And a lot of people feel like if someone comes to them and says, "Hey, we want to make you a manager," they can't say no because
Mm,
that's self-limiting, right? Then they'll be in the bad graces. So first of all, know what you want, right? Don't be afraid to speak up. If you want to take the management route, the leadership route, find a mentor, right? And it has
mm,
to be someone that you trust. It has to be someone that extols and displays the traits that you yourself want to absorb as a leader and use. Um, and if you can find solid training, do that. I'm trying to help with that, right? I'm gonna lead something called I'm gonna launch something called the Elite Academy that will provide training in all of these areas for people that want to be leaders. But the most important thing is to find a mentor because you could have all of the training in the world. You could take all of the courses in the world, just like with tech. If you don't put them into practice, they're useless,
yeah.
right?
Um, Bree wants to know if you'll be her mentor.
Of course, hit me up. And that's the
Uh,
thing. I will say one thing that I am very proud of. I am still mentoring people that worked on teams for me back in 2010. So once I choose to invest in a team, and this comes back to like my central tenet as a leader, if anybody's curious, is don't mess with my team, right? I will
mm,
make sure as a leader that my team is aligned with the company vision and the company values, right? And I will make sure that because we're aligned with that, that we actually execute on that and get to a goal. Outside of that, don't mess with my team. Don't come with a bunch of process over progress changes. Don't don't tell us how to do our job. Don't tell us how we should do the job. Just let us do it, right? If we
mm,
fail, you can rake me over the coals. But once I buy into a team, and I will only buy into a team if I believe in their vision, if I believe in what they're doing, then I'm with you forever. So that's why I'm still talking to teammates that I had like a decade ago, over a decade, 15 years ago.
wow.
So, and that's I don't know, that's what a good mentor is to me. It's somebody that never just kind of drops off and lets go.
I like that. And obviously you're familiar. Most people here are aware Torque has a mentorship program which we're relaunching next year. As far as like from a standpoint of a mentor mentee relationship, what are some things that people should focus on? Because again, I think everybody's viewpoints as far as like a mentor or being a mentee have these expectations that maybe aren't fully communicated. So what's your perspective on like how that relationship should work?
So this is okay. This is kind of a trick answer. It's a non-answer because every mentor-mentee relationship will be different,
Mm,
right? Because every
very true.
person's
Yeah.
different.
Oh yeah.
I think the core tenet of any mentor-mentee relationship is for one person to lead, right, while the other one doesn't follow, but they observe.
Mm,
So I will, I with everyone that I've ever mentored, they're always surprised because it's very much just like a conversation. I'm not going to tell you what you should do in any given situation. That's not what a mentor does. You don't come to a mentor with a problem. How should I handle this? And the mentor says, this is exactly what you should do. A good mentor will always ask questions to help the mentee discover what it is that they want, what they know they should do.
mhm,
I'm a huge believer in that most people always have the answer. Always.
mm,
The problem is getting to it. We have it, we don't want it. So we will do everything in our power to avoid it, to ignore it, right? To do something different. And a good mentor will just not let you off the hook. They will always bring you back to, what do you think you should be doing? And
Mm-hmm.
then, why aren't you? Right. And you can start to break down some of the challenges and obstacles that people face.
Yeah.
So the conflict avoidance, right? A lot of people are conflict avoidant. Not me. I don't care. Conflict is just a passionate discussion, right? It's not a
Mm-hmm.
fight. It doesn't have to be unpleasant.
Yeah.
It's just two people that have opposing views. Cool. That doesn't mean you hate each other. That doesn't mean that you're insulting each other. No, let's just put it on the table, hash it out, figure out what the best path forward is, and then that's what we do, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I feel like the mentor is asking questions, not giving directives. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I like that. Where do you see the biggest like trip up in like mentoring? Do you see it more on misalignment from the mentor side, or again like a mentee sort of again just has that expectation that the mentor is just going to hold their hand the whole time?
So a little bit of both. Like you
Okay.
and Taylor, you all talk about when you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, right? Don't reach out without purpose. When you go to
Mm,
them, tell them exactly what you want, what you're hoping to accomplish, why you're reaching out. So with the mentor, it has to be the same way. You need to go to a mentor with purpose, right? Ooh, that's a good one. As a threat and excuse for a fight. All right, we can talk about that too. But it's you need to go with purpose. And I feel like if a mentee goes to a mentor with purpose, that will help the mentor dial into exactly what that person is looking for and whether or
mm,
not they can give it. A lot of mentors mistake guidance again for directive. So when mentors come on, if a mentor ever tells you this is what you should do, this is how you should have reacted, this is what you should have said, probably best to avoid that person, right?
mm,
Because they're not interested in you as a person or your viewpoint or why did you respond the way that you did. And even though it's different than the way I would have, you can always reframe that and, well, did you think about maybe responding this way, as opposed to being, you should have responded this way. So it's just much more about growth. It's not a direct parallel, but like when you date someone in a marriage, like you don't tell the other person what to do. Not if you don't want it. Like if you don't want it to last, sure, try that. If you want it to go the distance, it's best to just sit there and grow together and figure out who that person is what they want, and how you can help them accomplish whatever their goal is.
I like that. Um, Back to Emre's comment here because I think that this does bring up an interesting question. I take any feedback as a threat and as an excuse for a fight. And then Roxy says she's waiting for her supervisor to call her in so she can take all the advice and throw it out the window. Um, I look at I look at both of those in the sense that one, two very stubborn people, but I'm also curious, how does someone give feedback in a way that doesn't get taken with hostility? Is it possible to just land it 100% of the time?
Oh, yes. Is it possible? Yes, it's always
Mm,
possible. Is it likely? Probably not. Right.
mm,
Now we're talking about, you know, a variance of degrees. So, with that, my first question to both of them would be, one, why do you take it as a threat? Right? Why are you looking for a fight? And two, why do you just want to ignore it? And I could probably guess the answer to both questions, right? The way that they have been given feedback in the past has been completely wrong. The feedback that
mm,
they have received is not for them, right? So
mm.
Roxy is wanting to ignore it because she's never found the feedback that she got valuable, right? I forget the name of the person who said they want to fight, pardon me, but
That's
they
Mike.
they want to fight because, one, they've probably been undermined in the past, or feedback has been given in a way that they felt was disrespectful of them, of their skill set, right? So both of those are valid, right? You never say that the way someone feels is invalid because they have a feeling. Like, well, it's real, but it's not valid. So if they feel that they've been disrespected in the past, sure, maybe. Was it intentional? Maybe not. Maybe that person was not trying to be aggressive with their feedback. Maybe they need to learn how to communicate, which is most likely the point,
Mm,
right? So again, like when you're getting feedback, is it from a supervisor? Is it somebody in a leadership position, or is it from a coworker? right? A lot of companies will let you give feedback on PRs. All right, in that case, maybe ask them questions about why the feedback that your coworker gave, they gave it in the way that they did.
Hmm.
But as a rule of thumb, for anybody that's interested, I always give feedback in the same formula: two positives for every one negative.
Okay.
So if I'm going to say you need to correct something, before I do that, I'm going to point out two things that you did very well, right? Or you're doing very well. That way, it's just not always you did this wrong. You did this wrong, right? I'm going to build you up, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity. Hey, here's something that you might can grow with. I will never tell someone you did this wrong. I will never tell them, like, it's always a question with me. Why did you do it this way? Right? Because if I can get you to find the answer without me giving it to you, all the better, right? That's where you
Yeah.
grow. If I just tell you, well, that does nothing for you. It makes you defensive. It makes you, right? And then if you're stubborn, like me, everybody will tell you I'm as stubborn as could be, right? Then when people come to me in a way that automatically makes me want to fight back or resist them, then that's hard for me to let go because again, I am who I am, right? So
Cool.
I can't apologize for that. But if you come to me the right way, then I'm much more likely to listen to you and to evolve.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Your your video is slightly lagging, so you hadn't stopped talking on the video, but then your voice was still going. So it
That's
was,
unfortunate.
yeah, it's okay. We still got good audio. That's all that matters. Um, you said you were in the military?
Yes, not nearly as long as I wanted to be. So,
Well, thank you for your service. What branch were you in?
go Army all the way.
Okay, awesome. So, what were some things that you learned in your time in the military that you have kind of carried with you into these new careers?
So, okay, we're going to talk about me more than I normally do. But so uh, okay, the military is where I learned all of the best leadership traits that I have carried with me
Hmm.
since then. Beyond that, I didn't learn much about overcoming hardship or trials or any of that in the military because again, the early family life was much more challenging and much more of a trial than anything else that I've faced since then was. So before I reached the age of 16, like I had already overcome challenges that I would not wish on my worst enemy. That I definitely would not like. I'd already been formed. So most of what I've carried with me is stuff that I learned much earlier on. So I'm a little bit of an oddball in that way.
All right. Well, I mean, that makes sense, and you kind of touched on it without kind of deep diving that too much or as much as you're comfortable with. Like, how did that all shape you then? Like, I mean, again, this is all based on understanding the person that's here. That is the tech commute. So if I do ask a question that's too personal, obviously you can also just tell me to kick rocks. But
No,
um,
dude, it.
all of these
I'm an
stories
open book.
matter to somebody. So,
So, one, I was raised in a family that was super violent.
mm,
So, learning to read people, to be able to read the body language, read the tone in their voice, pay more attention to like the tone and the words that someone says. That's very
mm,
important. People will typically have their tone is the truth. The words that they say will typically be false, right?
mm,
So learning how to do that early on to avoid like unreal physical beatings was very important. So that's a skill that I picked up on early. I also learned how to read conflict. So normally when you walk into a room and there's tension, right, you have people that are involved directly with the conflict. Then you have a bunch of people that are not directly involved, but they are experiencing that conflict, unsure of what the outcome will be.
mm.
So I learned how to read the room, right? To read the body language, to pay attention to how people are breathing, uh, just where their eyes go. So everything that I learned about the soft skills, as we called them, was learned probably I mean, way before I even knew what they were.
Yeah.
And it also that instilled in me, I don't know, the part where I said like don't mess with my team. I am very protective of those people that I lead.
Sure.
And that stems from that too. So I was always able to tell when things were going to kick off at home, and sometimes I could then step in and draw the fire. So I knew exactly how to make people angry, right? Or act in a way that would pull their ire and anger towards me. So all of that carried with me, right? That's probably where my stubborn streak comes from. It's probably where, my ability to avoid conflict, to resolve conflict, right? I'm a huge believer in de-escalating before things get out of hand, but
Mm,
sometimes conflict can't be avoided. And when it
yeah.
can't be avoided, I don't shy away from it. Again, because of my childhood. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, for me, what is somebody going to do in an office that could be worse than what I experienced as a child growing up?
Sure.
So that is another thing that I like to focus with people on, which is perspective.
Mm,
So keep everything in perspective, right? People ask me all the time, why are you not stressed out about this deadline or the fact that we're having these issues? Because, dude, it's not that big, right? I'm not being shot at. I'm not being attacked physically. Like, I'm not being yelled at or verbally assaulted. So cool. Are we working a little extra hours? Am I having to answer questions for people that are stressed out, that are very angry, maybe? Yes. But I can do that in a way that I can bring it all back down. So everything about me was formed from the fire of my childhood.
wow. That's that's intense, and thank a lot of people are thanking you for sharing that vulnerability with us. I think that it's important because again, hearing that just sort of corroborates the journey and where you've gained this experience and this wherewithal. Do you think that that protector mentality was also part of the reason maybe you've gotten more into the leadership role, just unintentionally?
Oh, yes. So, another thing, like my family did not value education or personal growth at all.
Mm,
So, because of my childhood, I was robbed, right? I was prevented from pursuing some academic things that I would have wanted to, right? I did not have the options that a lot of people did. So now one of the reasons that I love mentoring, that I love leadership is because I get the opportunity to help other people achieve what they want to. And that's a big personal driver
yeah.
because I feel like that for me, a lot of opportunities have just been lost, right? Like I'm never going to get them. I'm never going to have them. That like they're just dead. They never existed in the first place. And knowing that other people still have those opportunities to do things that I would have wanted to, it's a huge driver to help other people succeed. And
Yeah.
I will say this. So my family, it was a different time. I'm sure you're aware. No one really believed kids back then like they do today.
Yeah.
So in all of my childhood, not only were we undergoing like this just tumultuous violence at home, egregious evil, but then outside of that, when I would try to tell people what was going on, they did not believe me, right? So I was always viewed as the black sheep, the troublemaker, right? The one who was just the problem child. And because of that, I don't know. It drew me to people more.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Did you have siblings? You have siblings?
Oh, I do. I've got a lot of siblings. So I've got
Okay.
two older sisters, two older brothers, and a younger brother,
Okay.
and then a younger sister. So yeah, we're a big
Just a
family.
couple. Just a
Yeah.
couple.
Uh,
How has all of this shaped your relationship with them? Are you close with
oh,
them?
dude. No. So I
No.
only talk to one member of my family
Mm,
currently. The rest, I mean, it was toxic. So you have to remove yourself from those situations, no matter how hard it is, right? And it is hard. But no, so I only talk to one. I have a lot of disagreements with my family because my siblings have chosen to take a route that I never could. And that was
mm,
they deny it. They ignore it. They pretend like it didn't
mm.
happen. So it's tricky because
Sure.
they have the memories. We will talk about them, but
Yeah.
then they act like that nothing's wrong. And I'm like, okay.
That's hard.
Yeah,
That's got to be hard to not have somebody that had a shared experience with you just sort of denounce it. Like that's got to be tough.
it is infuriating, but like
Yeah,
you move on, right? You just
sure.
realize they're not prepared to handle whatever it was that we went through.
Yeah,
And I never shied away from it. So for me, it's an issue, but it's not crippling.
yeah. You've moved forward. I think it's admirable. I think we're all proud of you here, and thank you again for sharing some of that. We did have a question come in, and I feel like you are the best suited to answer this. Chris is saying, sorry if this is out of left field, but I currently work in a very antagonistic workplace. Like my boss was joking that I'm terrible at my job this morning. They're doing it to poke fun, and I found the best way to manage things is to play along, but it's so against who I am, and I find it exhausting to handle 5 days a week. Is there anything I can do other than finding a new job?
Okay. So I've been there. I've definitely been there. So you have two options, right? You can raise this issue privately with your manager and see how that shakes out. This is always a double-edged sword
Mm-hmm.
because I don't feel like that they're a manager. I don't know them from Adam. I don't feel like that their manager is a good leader. So I don't perceive them taking this feedback well. That doesn't mean they can't. That doesn't mean they couldn't take these questions and be like, all right, I'm going to truly self reflect and apologize for being this way. So I did stand up comedy for 4 years. So I love to crack jokes. And me and my good friends, we will crack jokes about each other all day long. But we know that it's coming from a place of jest. Like we don't believe it, we don't think it. Um, if you go to your manager and they don't respond well to your current concerns, then it's going to get worse, right? And if it doesn't get worse, then they're going to become apathetic and it's going to end up just feeling more antagonistic because they're probably going to start making comments that call out the fact that you're already uncomfortable or you don't like it. So for me, I stay at jobs as long as I enjoy them. Once
Mm.
it becomes work to go to work, then I realize that my time there is probably done for whatever reason, and I start looking elsewhere. This market is tough, so I'm not advocating for that at all. If it was me, again, no fear of conflict, I would go directly at them and I would just be like, look, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't like it. It started off funny, but now it's drug on. Like, can we just knock that off, please? And maybe they will. So in your case, you know your situation better than I do. uh, Make a choice based off of how you feel. Understanding that your time on this earth is limited and being in a place that makes you miserable is really not worth it unless you have kids and you have to pay bills, in which case
Mm.
sometimes you have to take the hit, right?
Yeah, there certainly are circumstances that change how you would handle a situation, like a
Yeah.
family and bills and stuff like that. Chris also mentioned it's frustrating because he was just in front of his managers last week defending me. Um, yeah, I mean, I agree with the advice you gave too. What what are like the types of managers you've seen out there? Like, I'm sure you sort of have a template. Like, there's these five types of managers, and then like, how do you how do you engage with them in positive ways?
Okay. So the most common type of manager that you're going to run into is going to be the authoritarian, right? And it's just this is what it is. They want to tell you how to do things, how things should be done. They want to tell you what to do and when. Those people are hard to deal with, right?
Mm.
Very hard to deal with because they have a need to be in control. They're not really open to feedback. They're not open to other viewpoints. That's one. The other one is the bro, right? Or the sis, I guess, if you're a woman. But this is a person that's just everybody's best friend. They're way laid back. They don't want to tell anyone what to do. They don't want to step in at any point and be like, guys, this is spiraling out of control. We need to get a handle on it. That person is easier to deal with, but also just as equally frustrating as the authoritarian. Then you have the incompetent leader, right? Who should never have been hired for any job ever, but somehow they made it into leadership.
I'm feeling very
And
attacked right now.
no, they just don't know what's going on. They don't pay any attention to their team. They don't pay attention to anything, and they can't do anything right. And then the fifth one, I don't know if there is a fifth one, fourth one. I don't even remember what number we're on. But then you do have people who try very hard to do a good job, but they're just
Mm.
not cut out for it. And these are the people who have an excellent work ethic and they're great team players. They are just not positioned for leadership. And some people are just not made to lead, right?
Oh,
I hate to say it, but it's true.
wow. No,
Um,
that honestly, that's a great point. You finish this up, and then I just go right into this. Like, how do you know you were meant to be a leader?
okay. So with those, again, the template for handling them for me varies because every person is unique. So even if they fall under one of those categories, there's still stuff about them that makes them unique. So there'll be special things that you can do to engage with one that won't work with the other. So you just kind of have to, I mean, it is truly a never-ending improvisational act to deal with those people. How do you know that you want to lead? You love helping people, right? There are some developers that want to come to work, they want to throw on their headsets, and they just want to head down in the code all day. Don't bring me into meetings, don't ask me for updates, let me just do my job.
Hmm.
Those people typically not interested in leadership, because in leadership it's a different ballgame. People don't get this. It's meetings, it's budgets, right? It's inter-team communication, it's dealing with other managers and other teams where there are interdependencies. If you have a drive to make an organization better, and I say better in a structural sense, probably a good indicator that you are wanting leadership. Likewise, if your teammates are always coming to you, they're opening up to you, they're sharing their problems, they're asking you for advice, that is a sign that they already view you as a leader,
Mm.
right? So that's a good indicator if you enjoy that you might want to go that route. I know people who have that leadership mentality. People are treating them as a leader, but they have no interest in actually leading.
Hmm.
So they just kind of want to be the team sounding board, right? The team counselor, but they don't want to drive.
Hmm.
So
I like that.
yeah, it's right there. My thing is if you're interested in, hey, structurally, not structurally, but also like procedurally, this could change and this would make it so much easier. Like leadership is probably for you.
What would what would someone do to start kind of putting themselves better positioning themselves for a leadership role internally? Like, let's say that is something they're interested in. Like, what do those conversations look like, or what should they be doing?
So first of all, I'm gonna say it, even though I feel like it doesn't need to be said. Like you can be a leader without the title.
Mm.
So if you're interested in actually getting to the title portion of leadership, then start taking on additional responsibilities, right? Look for ways that you can step in and help the team or help your current manager. So my first piece of advice always for people interested in leadership: tell your current leader, right? Once you tell them, ask them for ways that you could take on additional leadership roles, whether that's leading a small project or a small feature or attending a meeting on behalf of the team. It's a great way to do that. I always, as a leader, I look for people who are interested in that work and I give it to them without asking because they
Mm.
just seem to want it, right? And then you can kind of gauge how they respond to it, whether or not they want to continue doing it. A lot of people think, oh, leadership would be great, right? Being a manager would be awesome. Then they get into it and they realize, yeah, I don't want this, right?
Like, shit,
Yeah,
this is
because
terrible.
it's always on you, and you have to realize your most important function as a leader is to insulate your team, right? Protect them from the politics,
Mm.
protect them from the needless admin work or the procedural processes that just slow everything down. That's the burden you carry, right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I I had another question about that specifically, and I got a little sidetracked here. We've got about 15 minutes left. I wanted you to sort of give us a real high level synopsis of what your talk was at Commit Your Code. I heard tons of people raving about it. I know you already sort of touched on a lot of the points, but give us like give us like what the idea was, where you even also just thought of this topic, why you thought it was important. Again, you've alluded to it in most of the time we've been chatting here, so I feel like we've just built up to this moment. But I definitely would love to hear a little bit more about it, especially for some of the people that weren't able to see it.
Yeah. So my talk was on emotional intelligence. It was called Split Second Leadership, right? Master your emotions before they master you.
Hmm.
And it is, in my opinion, emotional intelligence is the most important skill that anyone can learn at all, ever, regardless of your job, regardless of whether you work. Emotional intelligence is it, because every relationship, every part of your life will forever be affected by your actual emotional intelligence. So my talk centered around what I call the IVR method:
Okay.
identify, verify, and rectify. And that's a simple 3-step process that you can use when you find yourself faced with an emotional challenge, right? The first one, identify what emotion you're feeling, right? Identify what it is that you feel. Don't worry about the why. Don't judge it. Just figure, am I angry? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I frustrated? Then you move on to verify. Now, a lot of people mistake feeling for being. So they feel angry and they think, I need to be angry. And that typically is never true, right?
Mm.
The first emotion is most likely not the right emotion. So you say you feel anger, but what you really feel is disappointment or frustration or betrayal. So once you verify what emotion you feel, and you do that by asking why. You feel angry. Why do you feel angry? Well, because, uh, Jason did XYZ. All right. Well,
Probably.
what about that made you angry? And then you start digging in and you go, okay, well, it's not anger I feel. All right. So you got to go back to step one, identify it again, get to the actual emotion. Once you identify it and you verify it, then you just have to get to a point where you can rectify it, right? How do you move on? How do you accept it and move past it? If somebody betrays you, if somebody hurts you, if something happens that frustrates you, well, guess what? I mean, it is what it is. They can't take it back, right? Situation's not going to change. You're still
Yeah.
frustrated, but how do you move on? So even if somebody personally insult you and what you truly feel is a righteous wrath, okay, what are you going to do, right? You're going to punch them in the face? Are you going to yell and scream at them? Or are you going to find a way to handle it that will be productive for you? The first one will get you sent to jail. The second one will get you fired if it's in a professional setting,
Yeah.
right? So what do you do to handle it? And there's a lot to that. Like, I just wrapped up what I could talk about for maybe 3 hours on total in like 5 minutes. So it's not simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple, right?
Yeah.
So that was the talk. We talked a little bit more about it. Most people don't realize. Do you remember several years ago, there was a video that went viral of people passing a basketball around, and someone dressed in an ape costume walked right through the center of the group, and nobody saw it.
I feel like I do remember. I do remember this video a little bit. Yes. I'm gonna
If
look it up.
people watching, yeah, if they don't remember it, look it up because it's wild. And now that you know that there's an ape there, you most likely are going to see it because you're going to be paying attention and looking for it. But when this video first went viral, everybody watched the video and they were like, what are they talking about? There was nobody with an ape costume like walk through the middle of them. But no, they did. And the reason that no one noticed is because your brain, like the human brain, is predictive. It's not reactive. So all of the questions, this is wild, but the
Oh yeah.
discussion that me and you are having right now,
Yeah.
my brain is not responding to everything in the moment, right? We don't have the brain width for that. We don't have the inputs. We don't have the power to do that. Instead, my brain has been making predictions all throughout this call about what we could talk about the questions you might ask. And based off of those predictions, I am then responding to the situation that unfolds. It was the same way with that video. You were watching a video where you were told, hey, this is people passing a basketball around. So your brain was not reacting to the video. It was making a prediction of what that video would look like. So when someone with an ape costume walked through the group, your brain just didn't register it because it wasn't part of its prediction.
Hmm.
So it's the same way with emotions. When you are reacting to something, your brain has already decided how you should react based off of the entirety of your life experience. Now, you can control that. You can learn to override it. You can learn to rein it in. But for most people, as soon as they feel a reaction, right, as soon as they feel it, they react. And my whole talk was about not reacting, but responding.
Mm.
Go ahead and let the internal reaction happen, right? When somebody says something that makes you angry, somebody cuts you off as you're driving down the road, cool. Feel that temporary moment of rage because of the inconsideration. But, you know, you don't necessarily have to honk your horn or flick them off or stick your house the window and cut something as you go down the interstate. You can instead choose to respond a different way and just realize, all right, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, it was inconsiderate, it was reckless, but it's over, right? I don't need to give them any more power of my mind. I can keep it all for me.
Okay, so let me ask you about a scenario then, and I would love to hear your response. Let's say I have a friend that bought a radar gun and wants to sit at the end of his driveway because people speed too fast on his road, and he wants to record it and with the speed gun and then turn all of those people in. And even if it doesn't do anything, at least they'll see that they're being caught and maybe slow down.
Cool. So are you asking me if I think that's a good idea
Are
or
you
something that they
telling,
should do?
do you think that they're handling their frustration well, or should I return the radar gun?
Oh, this is awesome. So, all right, for this, I'm gonna go to my
Oh,
review camera.
holy cow.
Yeah.
We just got a camera switch. My
So,
mind is blown right now.
yeah, I'm not gonna look directly at it. I'm gonna do my like
Okay.
professional interview
Yeah,
for this one.
that was great.
So, dude, I would ask yourself, what are you gonna get from doing that, right? And for you, if it alleviates the frustration of people speeding down, you have kids, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not just them speeding, right? Oh, they're breaking the law and get away with it. No, it's not that. It poses an actual risk,
yeah,
a physical risk to people in the neighborhood. So
yeah.
first of all, this is a very genuine, valid concern, right? My question to you is, would there be a better way to handle it? So you could sit there for hours recording it. You could send it to the police. The police could go, what the hell are we supposed to do with this, right? It could be AI generated
Yeah.
for all we know. At the same time, are there other actions that you could take that would result in a better outcome for what you actually want? So could you videotape that and send it to the city council or send it to your council member who could
Mm.
then set up maybe a true speed monitoring project on that road that might result in eventually speed humps getting put in place or increased police presence?
Tire spikes I may have also looked into, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I mean, so some context. Obviously, again, people very much speed down our road. We're like a midway thoroughfare between a couple major roadways. There's multiple accidents with fatalities that have happened. Literally 4 houses down from in front of our house, and law enforcement speeds through here all the time too. So again, it's like the principle. So I feel like if I was able to get them on there and be like, "Hey, I'm going to show your boss, like we need to do something." I was running earlier and I was like, "What if we put stop signs there or something, like just to circumvent the speed that's going through?" But anyway, um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll brainstorm with you. We can figure it out. Um, I
And
just back to your point though. It's like ultimately, I think if people maybe take a step back when you're in that like moment of passion or frustration and just sort of look at it a little bit more pragmatically, there's usually a better solution.
well, yeah, and that needs. I mean, if people leave with only one point from everything that I've said today, I would want
Mm.
it to be this: think about what you ultimately want, right? What is the outcome that you are after? Hold that forefront of your mind before you respond to anything, right?
Mm.
And again, people in relationships, right? People who are married, they know this all too well, right? Your significant other says something that you don't like, right? What do you do? Do you respond with an angry tone? Do you yell and scream? Maybe they could do a number of things. They throw out your favorite shirt, right? They do something that just infuriates you. How do you handle that? Do you want to have your relationship go off the rails? Do you want to spend a night sleeping in separate rooms? Do you want to spend hours at each other's throats over what? Right? What's the
Yeah.
ultimate goal? It's the same way with work. All right, so you've got a coworker that said something inappropriate that annoys you. What is your end goal?
Hmm.
And every action that you take needs to be with that as the ultimate goal, right? And sometimes you really have to suck down that pride. You have to push down your internal reactions, right? Your instinct. You just go, okay, I can't do that today. I can't do that today because I want peace, right? I want to be happy. I want to be
Hmm.
level. And sometimes, like the hardest leadership lesson that I've ever learned is that sometimes leading means leaving, right? When a situation is
Hmm.
hopeless, sometimes the leader has to let the rest of their team know, look, this is how untenable this is. I have to go.
Yeah. Wow. That's which I'm sure is extremely hard in certain situations. God.
100%. Especially
All.
when you recruit a team and get
Oh,
people to
yeah.
buy into you, and then you have to turn around and go, okay, this has devolved to the point now that I have to be the first one to go because I need you to know how serious this is.
My takeaway, besides all of these wonderful nuggets of knowledge, is I need to get a second camera because you are not the first person to throw the surprise camera angle at me, and now I'm just jealous. Um, that was awesome. So, last question here. We got 3 minutes left. Thank you again for getting some time with us today. I feel like everybody has absolutely loved all the deets you're dropping. What does success look like to you?
Oh, all right. So success to me, um, this is tricky. And I'm gonna say this. Success to me is when you have complete and total inner peace
Hmm.
about everything. The choices you have made, the situation that you were in, what you have chose to endure, right? And that's hard. Success is different to a lot of people. To me, it's not titles, it's not money, it's not pay, it's not status. I can be the lowest person on any rung ever, but as long as I know that I have done what I view as right and I have that internal peace, then I'm happy, right? That to me is success. At the end of the day, people say, oh, can you look yourself in the mirror? But it's not that to me. Looking yourself, we delude ourselves every second of every day. More importantly is, can I look at you? Can I look you in the eyes? Can I look my significant other in the eyes? Can I look my best friend in the eyes, my team in the eyes, and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything I've done has been right and true and for their benefit?
Hmm. I like that answer. Everybody gives me a different answer, so it's always interesting to hear the nuance in everybody's. It's cool. I can look like a 10-year-old in my eyes, maybe. What? Roxy? I think Roxy's drinking at work again. Um, all right. Everybody go connect with Jeremy if you haven't already. I know most of you have. There's his Twitter or X. It's always going to be Twitter to me. There's his LinkedIn. Please go make sure you reach out. Tell him you loved the conversation that we had today because he dropped all the knowledge. And then also, when's this dropping?
So um, I've I've kind of got a website up in its initial form. I've been working on an emotional intelligence for everyone class, so that's for all people. I'm hoping to have it launched by the end of November.
Awesome. So everybody go bookmark this for when it's ready in a month. And go get smarter about your emotional intelligence. Lord knows I need it, so I probably will sign up as well. Um, to everybody in the audience, thank you, Roxy, Matt. Oh, he switched cameras again. Oh my God, this is great. Bree and Jordan, Tehran, I see you, buddy. It's good to see Seabass here. We can always continue the party over at torque.dev/discord. You can find out all the event information over at torque.community. Blah 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 app right, blah 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 dress code. There's all my ads like Taylor for the day. And I will see you guys tomorrow for resume reviews. And thanks again to Jeremy so much for being here. Hang out for a minute and I'll thank you backstage. Everybody else, remember it's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Try to turn all this stuff off and